right now? It is, it's just too far away.
Yes, good.
Welcome to the HNA, our HNA Neighborhood Association meeting. My name is Melissa Hodgins. I'm the Vice President of the association. It's really great to see so many people out tonight. I just have a couple of things I need to go through before we get on our way with our candidates forum. If you'd like to become a member of the HNA or renew your membership, we have some membership forms at the back table. There's also newsletters back there. If you'd like to take a sample newsletter, we mail them out monthly. They have goings-on of what's in the neighborhood, Springfield Ave, so it's very informative. Each year, we do a garden awards in the summer. There are a few of us who walk and drive around the neighborhood to find neighbors who we feel have done something special to make their yards beautiful and help our neighborhood look beautiful. And so do we have any winners today in the audience that we can see? Thank you for coming. So I'm going to announce our winners, and when I announce your address, if you would come up, I have your gift card. So our winners are receiving a gift certificate to Gigi's Cupcakes.
All right.
So our winners this year is 162 Lexington Ave. 51 Hilton. 101 Rutgers Street. 148 Lexington Ave. And 758 Prospect Street. Our forum tonight is being taped for Channel 35, so you can catch it there if you miss it, or if you're, have to leave early. And October 20th is our next meeting, which will be the Board of Ed Candidates Forum. There are 5 candidates and there are 3 seats. So we hope to see you there for that. Our timer today is Lucy. She will be keeping track of time. Carol Buchanan will be our moderator, so why don't you come on up and take it away.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Carol. Thank you everyone for coming. And we're very happy to have a nice audience here, and we're happy to have our candidates. It's not easy to run for office, and we're glad that we have some citizens who are eager to work with and for our town. Jim, which is the one. Our format is the same as we usually have. We'll start out with an opening statement for 2 minutes by each candidate, and then each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer questions that they have received ahead of time from us. And then we will have a session of about 15 minutes for questions from the floor. Then they will have a closing statement. And I just want to mention that since we are having this taped, we hope that you'll mention to your friends who couldn't come that if they should look for it on TV. Let's see. Okay, so we'll start. I'm the librarian, so we'll start in alphabetical order. And Frank, would you start with your opening statement? Thank you.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Frank McGehee, and I am the Democratic nominee for Township Committee. First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight, and I especially like to thank Carol Buchanan and Hilton Neighborhood Association for this wonderful opportunity. I am your neighbor. As I look across the room, I see many people I've worked with here in town on important issues. And I look forward to working with many of you also in the future as well. I moved here in 2013 with my wife Marie and my daughter Madison, who's a sixth grader at Maplewood Middle. And I immediately got involved with the Tuscan PTA. Why? Because I'm a parent. With the Coalition on Race.
I'm going to keep it easy on the videographers and just stay in one place, but my personality is going to be all across the room. So, hello, and thank you for coming. I wanted to start out with the elephant in the room. I'm a Republican. At the simplest level, it means I'm registered to vote in the Republican primary. At a more complex level, I'm a product of my family and this community. I lived in New Jersey my whole life, and in this town for the past 8 years. I share your values. I've taken public stances and actions for LGBTQ rights, as well as women's health issues. I've financially contributed to the Community Coalition on Race, as well as attended their events. I've stood with moms demand action and demanded we take action for gun control in this town, and I've signed the pledge, Not in Our Two Towns pledge. Now, my father is a Republican, and our political conversations have shaped my views. I'm not quite sure what party my mother is. She's never been shy about her views, but she was never big on labels. But she did fiercely protect her vote, and she didn't give it to a person or a party. A vote is something that you earn. And tonight, I'm here to earn your vote by showing you clear examples of what I would do to make this town and this community better for all of us. And I want to thank you for coming, and I appreciate your support.
I will mention that for the questions, you have 1.5 minutes, and Jim and Lucy are our timers this time, and Lucy will hold up a 15-second warning when your time is almost up. Okay.
Thank you.
And since we started with Frank, this time we'll start with you, please, Mike. The first question has to do with pedestrian safety. There is growing concern throughout the town about the speed of traffic and the safety of pedestrians. In the past 18 months, cars have hit pedestrians, with some being seriously injured. What would you do as a township committee member to address this problem? We'll start with you.
Thank you. One of the individuals that was struck was a young boy on my block on Revere Street, and it's something that we're all concerned about. And I've been in Hilton Neighborhood Association meetings where we talked about this with the chief of police before. The first thing that I would suggest is that we follow South Orange's lead. They've had some great progress they've made on pedestrian safety and some great ideas. In business, I'm never afraid to shamelessly steal good ideas from my peers. And so just to give some examples, South Orange recently started marking curbs so that you knew as a driver that you shouldn't park as close to a crosswalk or a curb or an intersection. And that's just to help visibility for both pedestrians and drivers and minimize the chance of an accident. I've also, I saw that they've been doing, sting operations with people in crosswalks. I saw one on Prospect Street as I was driving towards South Orange Avenue. They had an individual that was dressed as an everyday person, and cars set up police cars to stop people. They had like 10 of them, just one after another, grabbing people who had not stopped for the pedestrian. Luckily, I stopped, but I had to think about it, and I think about it every day now that I drive down Prospect Street, and that's the kind of enforcement I think that's valuable. I'd also like to see us get more creative. I'd like to see marked bike lanes in town. It's a population that's growing. We've got a fantastic resource in the reservation. They block off, I think it's Brookside Drive on the back side of the reservation for bike riders. I'd like to see us connect Maplewood to Brookside Drive with a bike lane. And I also work with the police department on prioritizing enforcement, because they can't be everywhere all the time. But I do think that if we partner with the chief and give him priorities of what's important to us as a town and as a township committee member, I would set those priorities to make sure we're focused on the right things. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank?
Great. For me, it's 3 points. It's greater enforcement of our traffic laws. It's also working to empower our residents so they can be protected when they're walking in our streets. And number 3, working with homeowners to do a better job with their sight lines in our community.
With the what?
With their sight lines in terms of their lawn space and so forth. So in terms of the first part of it, I think that we can do a better job with the enforcement of our traffic laws, especially in hours when our children are walking to school down Prospect, Valley Street, Ridgewood, and when our commuters are heading to the train station. So better law enforcement is something we should do, number 1. And South Orange has shown that, because with their rules, they've done greater enforcement to the point with the same resources. They have allocated the same resources, existing resources, and now they are the number 1 town that gives citations in Essex County. Number 2, be safe, be seen. What does that mean? That means that we need to put a marketing plan together for our residents and our schools so they know what they should do when they're walking in our streets. Reflective closing, apps on your phone. Those are things that help mitigate danger when you're walking in our streets. And finally, our residents who are property owners, it's imperative that they understand that they trim their hedges so that families that are walking down the sidewalk don't have to walk in the street because the hedges are going on the sidewalk. So those are the 3 things. Enforcement, pedestrian safety for enforcement. Number 2, for our residents, be safe, be seen, and also working with our homeowners.
Thank you. Okay, our next question has to do with development in the Hilton area, and we'll start with Frank this time. Do you think we have reached the saturation point with new development in the Hilton area?
My answer is no. I think right now what we need to do is have a more comprehensive master plan, an urban development plan that looks at taking the Hilton neighborhood that runs into Springfield Avenue and connecting it with College Hill. So essentially we have one town. Also, I think it's important that we have more transparency in terms of some of the developments that we have in town, that we have more community involvement. And also what's most important is that when we have new developments, we need to look at having better affordable housing for our residents. We have people here who want to stay in Maplewood, but frankly can't afford it. And it's very important that when we talk to developers, they understand that. And finally, when we do have developers come to town, we should look for developers who can create assisted living for our seniors. So in conclusion, I say responsible development does help our property values, but we must have a master plan where we're able to take our town and make it one, make Hilton fluid into College Hill, leveraging Springfield Avenue, and making sure we have the right developers in town and really care about our community.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you. In fairness to Frank, this is probably an unfair question because I live in the Hilton neighborhood and I've been shopping on Springfield Avenue for the last 8 years. So Springfield Avenue is fundamentally different than the Village. And if we don't approach Springfield Avenue differently than we approach development in the Village, we're doing Springfield Avenue a disservice. We'd be happy to have a chain like Cold Stone Creamery, Starbucks, any of those businesses that want to come to Springfield Avenue, we take them with open arms. We've got parking, we've got outstanding businesses here already, and that would really complement the strengths that we have. You know, I love Shakti Yoga, HLS, The Rack. There's a brand new business called Avions and John, which is a furniture and home furnishing store. It's outstanding. If you listen to anything I say tonight, go to Avions and John this weekend. You will not be disappointed. It's an example of the kind of business we want on Springfield Avenue. I also think the Wine Barrel was a great addition. It was a good collaboration between the town, Springfield Avenue, and the business owners. We got the type of wine and liquor store that we wanted. They've been a fantastic asset to this neighborhood. I hate to see DiPietro's replaced with a 30-person condominium building or 30-unit building. When we have vacant lots all up and down Springfield Avenue, we've got the old Maple Crest Ford location, we've got Bumper to Bumper, There's plenty of buildings that are vacant, and I'd rather see a long-standing business with clients and customers stay and develop the space that we already have. And I also fundamentally disagree with the fact that we can increase tax revenue by just adding residents. That hasn't worked. We've got the same census population that we had in 2000. We have about 24,000 people, yet our budget has gone up almost $10 million from 32 million to 42 million. That's not sustainable, and we can't just throw people at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, it's funny because we only have 2 candidates. We're used to having 5 and rushing through and everything.
Give us more time.
There's more time.
Well, people can ask questions and everything.
That's good too.
Okay, so we'll start with Mike. The main library expansion. Do you support the plan for expansion of the main library? Please give your reasons. The main library to become the library of the 21st century.
Thank you. At first, I want to say that the plan hasn't been finalized, so it's hard to really comment on the specifics. But I do think it's a good idea to reimagine the library space, and I'm glad that we're undertaking the effort. From my experience in facilities management, corporate real estate, space planning, you can't just look at one property, one conference room, one building, one floor. You have to look at it in a comprehensive vision for the town. We've recently added the old women's club as the Woodland. We just purchased a church on Burnett Avenue. And so I think that we need to make sure that when we're talking about the library, we're talking about it in the context of the overall space of the town. And that we don't design a library that suits the library's purposes, but neglects other spaces that could be better utilized. I also think that the town's space currently doesn't meet the needs of the new population that we have. We've got residents over 60 who will probably live in this town for at least another 40 years, which is amazing thinking, I've been here 8 and there's people that have been here 5 times longer than me and they're just hitting their stride at 60. So we need to be thinking about them when we think about space design. And then we also have a new population of telecommuters, work from home, flexible work schedule. So we need to think about our spaces in that context. I know putting a Starbucks into the post office is a contentious point, but we could have put a Starbucks in the new library. It could become a Barnes & Noble for our community. Things like that, we have to think bold. We have to think about what people want. I want a flexible workspace where I don't have to go to a corporate office every day, but I have somewhere with internet access, my community, a quiet space to work, touchdown spaces. And if we think about the space we're in right now, this is a perfect example that this room could be something that could be a co-working space if we wanted to. You could see the same approach to my perspective on town with my recommendations around putting a family restroom in at the community pool. Those locker rooms were imagined for a different time. Scary different time of Speedos and sweaty feet and fungus. But I'd love to see us put in a family restroom that is available for all genders, as well as a place where I can take my daughters and change them without being in a locker room. So thank you.
Thank you. Frank?
Sure. For me, the library is an absolute yes. It is the cornerstone of our community and is in desperate repair. Our library, on average, gets 1,000 people a day. The main library branch itself receives 80% of that traffic and also serves as a library for our middle school. The library is not just a place where people go to get a book. It's a place where people come who don't have access to technology to use a computer. It's a place where a stay-at-home parent takes their child before preschool or in the summer for more enrichment. It's a place that we all go and seek shelter during inclement weather like Hurricane Sandy. But our library right now is in desperate need because it can't meet the infrastructure and demands of our town. And in addition, as we continue to think forward about how our town should be and the population that's also coming into Maplewood, we need to make sure our library can meet those particular needs. Our Hilton branch is great. It's being refurbished right now, and also it's going to serve as the headquarters for the library during the expansion period. Our library is really one system, one town, and I support it very much.
Thank you. And it's your turn for the next question, which is property maintenance. A number of residents find it difficult to maintain their property. What are your ideas on how to balance strict code enforcement with assisting these residents?
Well, really, it's a question of balance, because first we have an issue with absent landlords and slumlords in our town, and then we also have residents who really want to fix up their properties but just can't afford to do so. So first, in terms of the absent landlords, and I've walked with people in this town. I see Brenda out here today, and we walked, and I've seen units and homes where the living conditions are not acceptable at all, and we need to crack down on that. But for those residents who can actually not afford to do improvements but want to, there are resources. For example, the Maplewood Township has an affordable housing program where there's $20,000 available for people who are interested in it. The Coalition on Race has a revolving line of credit with zero interest that you can use for aesthetically pleasing your home as well. So these are resources that are kind of undertapped, and we should leverage them as well. Finally, it's important for our residents to know that when you do spend the money in CapEx into your properties, that it also helps keep crime down and also keep your neighbors happy and increases your property value. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
Sure, thank you. So I feel like this is an issue not just for our most tenured residents, but also the new crop struggles with this as well. If you're commuting in and out of the city, you're only one train delay away from being home after dark, and you're only 1 or 2 weekends away from having a wild front lawn. I'm guilty of that myself. It's a reality. It's not that you don't want to do it. It's just that if you don't have the time to get home before it's dark and your weekends are tied up with other family commitments, it can be a challenge. But I think we need to partner instead of punish. If we're able to connect the town violators to the resources, Frank mentioned, they exist, but we're not connecting our town to them. We're just writing them a ticket and hoping the problem gets fixed. And that's really not the community that we live in. On a neighborly note, if there's members of the neighborhood in the Hilton community that need help, you've got a great neighborhood association. There's a young crop of neighbors who are willing to shovel and cut grass and trim and go up on ladders. So reach out to us because we're here. But that doesn't solve this issue townwide. We need a real process to help people, because it's not a matter of they don't want to. It's a lot of times it's a matter that they can't. And if you're just going to punish, they'll pay the fine and they'll move on, and that's not the right approach.
Thank you. And the last question, which is start with Mike, is about feral cats. In the past few years, Maplewood has made strides to help the feral cat population through a trap, neuter, release program. Going forward, what do you think the involvement of the township should be in dealing with feral cats and kittens?
So my perspective on this is that we need to stop making basic programs that are basically we're making our citizens pay for. It's the newest form of taxation, and it's wrong. We've got citizens and nonprofits who are funding this TVR program, and they've raised over $25,000 in the last 2 years. I don't know if anyone in this room has been to the Fur Ball. I have not, but it's their biggest fundraiser of the year. And I just think it's outrageous. It's in the same line with the new kid tax we have, where you're assessed $20 for using the field, no matter how many kids you have and how many times you use the field if you participate in organized activities. I don't think that families should be expected to pay this kid tax in addition to the registration that they already pay and the taxes they already pay, which should include the basic field maintenance. My daughters use the Woodland and the Bear, and they do music class and dance and other activities, but they're not paying those taxes, so it's unfair to target organized sports activities. You also have a large population that uses the tennis courts and walks their dogs and plays frisbee unorganized on the fields. And so to really target organized sports to make up for mismanagement of finances, I think is inappropriate. I've been going to the Township Committee meetings. I've been reviewing the budget. I've got a running tab of $675,000 in decisions that I wouldn't have made this year. You could do a lot with $675,000, and I'm willing to do it. And I'm willing to show the town and the Township Committee what we can do when good financial oversight is in place. We're also carrying $44 million in debt. So our budget this year was $42 million. So if you were lucky enough in this room to be a family making $100,000 a year, that's like carrying $100,000 in credit card debt. That's outrageous. Our debt payment was $5 million. That's almost 10% of our budget. That's 10% that we're not spending on services that we should. And until we have an independent voice on the Township Committee, it's going to continue.
Thank you. Frank?
Thank you, Carol. To be quite honest with you, I'm not sure we've made strides yet with the Feral Cats program. And I think the Township Committee needs to do a little more with the benchmarks regarding measuring the results of it. Right now, we substantially don't know how many cats have been through the program and how many cats are currently in the program. I know we're working with Furry Hearts, but they're supposed to determine how many cats have been through the program, but technically, how can they determine that if they're actually one of the people that we're paying? So I do support a program to help trap, neuter, and vaccine and return cats, but I think we need stronger benchmarks and control in that process to ensure that if any money is allocated from our budget, that we can trace it back to results. Right now, as I understand it, we're looking at another company called People for Animals, which is $4,200 plus $55 incremental per spray and neutering. Before I sign that contract, I want to make sure we have benchmarks to justify the cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, now it's your turn. We have a section for question and answer period, and I hope that some people will have some questions to ask. Please don't make a speech, but ask a question. And does anyone want to be the first one? Yes.
Yeah, this is to Frank. And this was gleaned from statements you prepared on the Village Green online. You mentioned as a top priority you would have as Township Committee member would be, quote, to keep Maplewood as affordable and as an affordable place to live, work, and raise our families, unquote. In the light of the present reevaluation and the debt that we have, what would be the increased real estate? What will be an increased real estate tax burden on Maplewood citizenry and many people, especially the elderly, are seeking relief in tax flight? It's hard to maintain that Maplewood is currently affordable. Furthermore, it will continue to get more expensive going forward. So what specific policies would you pursue on the committee to make Maplewood affordable?
Can I get that question, a copy of that question? It's kind of long.
I sort of winged it too.
Yeah, okay. If I think, what's your name, sir?
My name is David.
David. Nice to meet you, David. I'm Frank.
Yeah.
If I think I understood you correctly, you're asking regarding what we're going to do to keep our taxes down. Is that correct?
Yeah, the affordability of remaining to live in the community.
Understood. Okay, well, there are a couple of things. When you look at our tax bill, 58 cents of the dollar is our school board. So you understand that. And then, of course, 26 cents is municipal, and the difference is county. And we have an inflection point of 2.2 in terms of an increase year over year. One program that I've talked about is called the Tax Incentive Program. And that's a program where essentially, and I've talked to several local merchants about this, where if you shop locally, you actually get a kickback to your taxes. So that's something that we should look into more deeply. So for example, let's say you go to Coda for dinner or HLS for dinner, you spend $100. 20% of that can go back to your taxes with a minor fee. But then 80 cents or $80 goes actually to the merchant. And merchants are interested in that. Why? Because of the increase of value they'll get from investing in their own community. But those are just one of the ways that we can think about differently about how we spend our money in town. Thank you.
Can I answer the question?
Yes.
Thanks for the question, Dave, and your response, Frank. I think this is a great example of where Frank and I differ. And with all due respect, I can't describe the tax relief program any other way than terrible. Our schools are already facing a deficit. Last year, they had to cut 11 teachers because of a $2 million deficit. It's projected to be $4.5 million next year. And you can do the math on how many teachers we're going to lose because of that. So I can't responsibly stand behind a program that is going to cut our tax dollars, and to every dollar we cut, to Frank's point, take 58 cents out of our school system. that's just gonna make it that much harder for them. It's an insane program. It only benefits the credit card company. If you visited the website, it's a mom and pop, fly-by-night shop. The towns that are doing it, Marlboro, you do your research. It's a terrible program. Members of the Township Committee have already voiced their concerns about it. It's a mistake. It's really a mistake. We already spend money in the village because it's a great village. We have great businesses and they can stand with our business without a tax credit. I will not stand for cutting taxes without cutting expenses. That's a recipe for deficits and debt. You can't cut revenue unless you cut expense. And that I will not get behind, and I'm not in favor of Frank's program, and I suspect the Township Committee will not as well.
Thank you. Do we have another question? Yes, Fred.
Mike, this is for you. I'm very interested to hear you say that you would have a running tab of $675,000 in expenses that you would not have voted.
Yes.
Please name the top 10 of those in terms of size.
I'll do it in two. So the first one is the $411,000 property tax reevaluation that's going on. So we were aware of this expense in January and February. It's public record if you go back to the Township Committee meetings. So while the budget was still open, the Township Committee decided to exclude that expense from the budget. And so what they did is then they did an emergency, and I would use quotes, if I didn't want to be compared to Richard Nixon, appropriation to cover that expense. And so what that did in effect was double our taxes from a 1.9% increase to a 3.9% increase. It's irresponsible. When you're a homeowner and you have an expense and you're aware of it, you make changes and you make tough decisions and you don't just take out additional debt that you can't afford. The other expense is, I'd say there's $250,000 that's being allocated to fix the flue and the new police station. And I say new because it's 8 years old and I was here when it was built. There is the usable life on a boiler and flue system, whether it's electric, gas, or oil, is anywhere between 20 and 40 years. To have that flue system go down in 8 years is either poor construction, poor design, or a defective equipment. And if I was on the Township Committee, we would be going after either the architect, the contractor, or the manufacturer of that system for that $250,000, instead of taking out a bond to pay for it. I think we need to have our facilities maintained. I believe that the police need a facility that they should be able to live with. I don't believe with not protecting taxpayer dollars by going after the people that are responsible, and in this case, financially responsible to a significant tune. So that's 650. You gotta trust me in the other 25K.
Sounds right to me.
Frank, did you want to add anything to that?
Sure, just really quickly. If you take that 250 off the 650, about 40% of that is a situation just occurred in the last couple of weeks. So we'll reduce that by about 33%.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
This question's for Mike. You don't like some of the other plans. What is your plan to cut expenses in the town without hurting the services or employees of the town?
That's actually my professional specialty. So I've been working in business process, outsourcing, optimization, linear programming, supply chain. So companies have hired me or my company to look at their operations and identify efficiencies. In one example, I had a law firm that had a $7 million budget for certain services. During the economic downturn, they came to me and said, Mike, we can't sustain the $7 million in annual expense. And they asked me for $1 million in savings. I delivered them a plan with $1.2 million in savings. That involved operational efficiencies, improving technology, delivering process improvements, all while maintaining services. Global law firms, partners, do not want to hear about service cuts. And I don't want to give service cuts to this town. But if you're going to spend our money, it's going to be in a smart way that's well thought out and part of a plan. Beginning of the year, we're going to have a plan. The departments are going to report to the Township Committee and tell us what they're going to do this year and what their objectives are and what they need from us to achieve them. And then month over month, quarter over quarter, we're going to keep them on plan. And where they need additional help, we're going to bring additional focus. And when we watch, and I'll use a cliche that my boss uses with me, and it says, if you watch your pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. And I firmly believe that that's the way that you should administer operations, especially around cost. And I think when you have a level of attention to it, it naturally works itself out because people know that it's not going to fly if they come to you with something as outrageous as some of the expenses that we have that haven't been well thought out. I've got a little more time. So with that being said, I do want to acknowledge Joseph Manning, the township administrator. I think he does a great job. I really appreciated, they were looking at replacing the windows in the library. It's a significant expense. And he said, we shouldn't do that because we're about to do a $15 million renovation, so let's hold off. Same approach with the fire and rescue system. He suggested that we not upgrade it because there's going to be new technology coming out in the next couple of years that will do better interoperability. So I do believe that that Joe Manning has our best interests in mind. I'd like to see the Township Committee listen to him more often.
Thank you. Frank?
Bill, thank you for your question. In terms of looking at reducing expenses, our budget right now for the town is $41.5 million. $27.7 million comes from our taxes. Within that $41.5 million, $11.5 million goes to police and fire. There's an opportunity for us to look at deeper dive into shared services. And within that scope, there's some cost savings there. So I'm in support of the shared services in terms of reducing some of our expenses in our budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question? Connie?
Connie Cosgrove. The shared services, I understand that they're pursuing a conversation with South Orange regards, this goes to Frank, with regards to the fire department. There was an in-depth study done 20 years ago or so called the Buracker Report that was done between Milburn, South Orange, and Maplewood. Speak to the impasse between civil service in South Orange and Maplewood, how you would mesh the two departments.
Sure, Connie, thank you for your question. First and foremost, I think the towns have changed so much in 20 years that sometimes studies have to be revisited. That being said, I know that we currently have a committee and consulting group looking at shared services this year, 2016, and they're going to report on their findings next month. Depending on those findings, will determine on how we look at shared services with South Orange and abutting towns. I think we have to take a good look at that, as long as we don't increase response times. That's important.
That's not my question.
I'm sorry, well, that's how I interpret it.
Okay, my question was how you would mesh the civil service of South Orange with Maplewood, who is not civil service. And that was it was totally...
Okay, I think we get the question. Did you want to add anything?
No, I don't. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Connie, thank you for the question. This is another area that I have experience. This is what I do. So I've worked for organizations that we merged a union workforce and a non-union workforce. It's called dovetailing because you integrate seniority, and it's not as easy as just doing that, as you can imagine. And it's not easy managing both union and non-union, flipping a switch. So it is something you want to do carefully. I've also modeled emergency response times and laying out inside of a town where you would place your emergency response equipment and facilities, not to get too technical, with a Poussin distribution so that you know where your call is going to come from and you can measure and model times, because it's not something you want to try and find out doesn't work because there's human lives at risk. So you use computer modeling to do it. And I will say, I'm open to hear what the consultants come back with. I read both RFP responses. I think they were both qualified respondents, and I'm interested to hear what they're going to say. I'd like to hear the Township Committee agree and say they're going to listen to what the consultants say, because we just spent $45,000 on this study, and I'm afraid that the Township's already made up its mind, and if it supports them, they'll take it. And if it doesn't support it, they'll throw it away, and we got $45,000 that we wasted. I will say, in my experience in operations, your biggest cost with fire and rescue is people, equipment, and real estate. And unfortunately, none of those things are minimized when you consolidate operations. You still need equipment to respond to service calls. You'll still need people to respond to service calls, and you still need facilities in the communities where the incidents are going to occur. Where we may have a savings is with management. And so that may mean we have one chief of police and we get rid of some of the middle management. But those are the kind of decisions that we'll need to make as a community as if it's worth it. And I'd like to see what the study comes back with. But at this point, I don't think we should hang our hat on that that's going to be the savior of the town's finances.
Thank you.
Good.
Anyone else have a question?
Yeah, a question.
Yes.
Yeah, this question is for Mike. Mark Naomi, how you doing? I just wanted to be clear. I wasn't sure when you said that with regard to the $400,000 for the tax revaluation. Are you suggesting that the township not do that revaluation this year?
No, it's not optional because the Essex County is mandating it. Some of it is, I'd say on my part, is naivety. So like if, in a perfect world for Mike Summerskill, I would like to say, okay, every 10 years we have to do a tax reevaluation. So I'd like to see us put 100 or 10% away every year, and then 10 years from now, when it comes up, we have it paid for and everyone's happy. Doesn't exactly work that way. The Essex County mandated the tax reeval. It's $411,000. We knew about it. The budget was open, and it should have been included in the budget. And instead, we made a choice to raise taxes to pay for it. And that's not a choice that I support.
Well, then I guess can I just follow up that the $675,000, if you were to cut that, you'd still have to spend the $411. So to get to $675, is there $400,000 in other cuts you're proposing to come to that number?
Yeah, I mean, without going into specifics, I haven't sat in all the budget meetings. But I feel like as a community, that's what you hired us to do. I mean, it's to make those decisions. And I would sit with the township administrator and the department heads and say, okay, guys, we got thrown a curveball. It's $411,000 we weren't planning on. There's stuff that we're not going to do this year, and we can do it next year. And in the same vein, we recently had there's an electronic sign outside of Town Hall that they wanted to put in for $30,000. It was actually approved in 2013, and it's taken us 3 years to even do anything with it. I don't know why. But we decided not to do it, which I think was a good decision, and I applaud the Township Committee for that. But then rather than taking that $30,000 and doing the next thing on the budget that we thought was a good idea that we didn't do, the Township Committee is proposing that we buy 2 new mobile electronic signs. I just don't agree with that. We have a process. We have people that we trust, and they make good recommendations. And just because we didn't have the money to do budget item number 11, now we do, then we should look at doing it. And that's my philosophical approach to managing budgets and plans.
Thank you. Frank, did you want to add anything?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, my name's Jackie Herships. I'm from South Orange. This question is to both candidates. What would you do to address the flood of seniors who feel forced to leave their long-standing homes and communities? And do you think it is even possible to effect change in this area?
Thank you for your question. First and foremost, I think that we do have a challenge of keeping our seniors here because, let's face it, property values are increasing, people are selling, and it is a challenge. I talked about it a little earlier, and I think that we need to look at our development and focus on bringing assisted living here to our community. I think it's very important. We don't want to lose our seniors because that is part of diversity. Diversity is not just color or sexual orientation, it's also age as well. And so I think when we look at the developments that are coming in the future, that we should look at those ways to provide assisted living for our seniors.
Jackie, thanks for your question. You actually represent a lot of what I'm passionate about in the sense that this election has been very hard for me. I've never viewed Maplewood and South Orange as different until I realized the South Orange people couldn't vote for me. It was like, I can't believe how many people I've met who are in South Orange. I'm like, God, it's against me. But I think we can't separate our two communities, and so I appreciate you being here tonight and asking a question about our seniors. The first thing I'll say is that we really do have to look at the baby boomer population with a different lens. When you look at census data, our population of people over the age of 60 in town has gone up about 50 to 60% since 2000. And the reason is because we're aging in place and we're working longer, and so that's really creating this new population in town that we need to really flex and address. I want to acknowledge the mayor is here today, and I was watching his debate in 2014 in this room, thanks to the Hilton Neighborhood Association, and he talked about how we really should have a comprehensive program for this community that's not just recreation based. So right now, the commissioner or supervisor of senior services, she sits in an office over there, she's part of recreation. If I was elected township committee, I would elevate that position, make it report to Mr. Manning, and our focus on this age group is more than just recreation, because that's not the only thing that they need. There's health, there's real estate, there's the enforcement we talked about. So there's many issues, I think, and I think I personally feel like for the amount of money that this population pays in taxes and doesn't get back in schools, we should be doing more for them. I just think they earned it and they deserve it, and I'm passionate about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Frank?
I already answered the question. Just making sure. Yeah,
Too honest.
exactly. There's my honesty right there.
Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, question. For both of you, if you could sway the township committee, what is the one project you would really like to do for our town that you think it really needs that would be so sweet?
That's a great question. We have a lot of needs, and I think the township committee does a good job. I really view myself as someone that would come in to support them and make them better. I mean, that's, they use the military term, I'm a force multiplier. So I'm going to take their great ideas, help them implement it in a meaningful way. To give you one example, and I've taken a public position on this as well, I think we should have feminine hygiene products for free in every township restroom, including the schools. Now, I can't impact the schools from township committee, but we can impact the 31 restrooms that we have, including the ones in this building. And when this was raised at the meeting back in either February or March, I believe March, the township committee said, and I quote, one member said, "I agree 100%. I am very supportive." Another member said, "Very supportive." Another member said, "Very supportive." And the last member said, "I'm supportive." And the one that didn't, I don't have a quote for, was the one that raised it, so clearly she's supportive. But here we are, we're 6-7 months later, we haven't done anything about it. We cite budget concerns, which I think are real, but I also am aware of $15,000 for the school resource officer that we didn't spend. That could fund the $13,000 we need to get these hygiene systems installed and stocked. Again, I'm also aware of the $30,000 in electronic sign we didn't spend. We could also use that money to install these things. So we need a system that keeps track of our good ideas and delivers them, because we've got them. We've got good leaders. The township committee is committed, and the township employees are as well. But we need oversight, we need governance, and that's what I would bring to the township committee.
Thank you. Frank?
For me, the one issue that I'd want to work with my fellow township committee members on swaying is really our Maplewood action plan on sustainability. We promised that we would reduce that by 20% by 2015, and we're not there yet. And we need to look at that and look through the protocol and everything else established and really push harder for municipal work in terms of using the type of cars that we talked about, which are hybrid versus gas, by putting solar panels on our buildings, looking at putting solar panels maybe in the parking lot by the pool. So for me, it's about being green. We haven't done a great job, and I push for that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Mike, this question is for you. In a town that's predominantly Democratic, that for the last 20 years, folks are predominantly Democratic, how can you reassure all these Democrats that as a Republican, you're not going to upset their apple cart, that you are going to be a part of the team? Now, you alluded to it a minute ago, but I think it's really important because this the voting here is just almost consistently line voting.
Okay, I think we have the question.
Well, you know,
You're
Carol, I
asking-
like to elaborate.
I know, but we're saying, don't make speeches, just make.
Okay.
Yes, no
I think you
speeches.
get the idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it's disappointing to have to answer the question, because I've never put stock in that label, especially at the local level. But with that being said, I understand it's a real concern for many voters, and that's why I tried to address it with my opening statement, when I probably would rather have been talking about policy, as maybe boring as that would be. But I will say I have a body of work. I've lived in this town for 8 years. I'm sitting in the room with my neighbors. I've been at barbecues and charity events and, you know, the pub and Coda and Les Saisons. I mean, I've been around. And so talk to my neighbors. There's plenty of people in town that know me. And you should really listen to them before you listen to me, because I'm biased. We know that. But at the end of the day, I think the ironic thing is when people go into that voter booth in November, and if they select my name at that booth, they're not actually voting for Mike Summersgill. They're voting for themselves. They're voting to say, I listened to the candidates, I ignored the party, and I voted for the best person for the job. And that's going to be a feeling that I'm happy to have them have. And I'd be honored for their vote in November. And I'm going to keep working to reach as many people as I can between now and then.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question? I think they.
Would you like me to respond to that?
How are you not going to give up the kind of one after?
No, I just want to say though that I think as a Democrat, I think that what the party stands for is very important. And I grew up on the south side of Chicago, where being a Democrat meant more than just a party. It meant helping people and helping each other, and lifting each other up. And I think that was part of being a Democrat. I think it's just helping out in services and listening to all people. And I think that when you think about what it means to be a Democrat, especially at the national level, you can see how important it is today. In terms of my background, you know, I'm a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, MBA from Wisconsin. I'm the head of global CRM for Tidal, a music streaming company in New York City, owned by Jay-Z. And, you know, and so what is important to me is you understand that I take this very seriously. And since the day that I stepped here in Maplewood, I believed in serving people, because being a Democrat means to serve. It means to serve people and to give of yourself. And in this position, I would gladly serve you and sacrifice time away from my family and my daughter to listen to your views and listen to what you have to say, and also move forward with policies that make sense for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another question? Yes.
I'll just ask one to both of you. We have diversity on the Township Committee, except for one important area, and that's political diversity. I'd like each of you to address that. Mr. McGeady?
Absolutely. Well, I think one thing that's important is that I am my own person, I have my own voice. And though,
That's not my question.
in terms of diversity, I think diversity is one of a different opinion too, where 4 people can go one way, one person can go another way. I've been to almost every Township Committee meeting for the last year and a half. And I will say traditionally that the vote is 5-1 or 4-1. That necessarily will not be the case when I'm on Township Committee, because I'm going to listen to the information, read the ordinance, and vote the way I think is fit. I think it's important that you elect someone who has their own opinion, their own voice, and will also be more transparent with the process and everything we do. That's the one thing that's really missing, transparency, and I will bring you that.
The first thing I want to say is I don't think any party gets to stake their claim on any value or initiative, you know, as their own. I just think that that's outrageous. There's people from all parties and walks of life that support all sorts of initiatives, and so for me to sit here and say, well, I'm a Republican because I'm fiscally conservative, but there's plenty of Democrats that are fiscally conservative. So I just want to say I won't do that. And I also think that the partisanship that we have is ridiculous. I'm a candidate of compromise. I'm disgusted with the amount of partisanship that goes on now. And so that's something that you won't see from me on the Township Committee. With that being said, if we're honest about how the elections take place in Maplewood, the Democratic Committee has a lot of influence. If you look at this year, The Democratic committee endorsed one of the 3 candidates, the other 2 dropped out. I think we should have had a Democratic primary, and I think that the Democratic committee should have held their endorsement until we had a chance to know all 3 candidates and learn about them rather than cutting them off at the legs. The year before, we had a candidate run without the Democratic endorsement, and they spent something like $35,000 or $37,000. That's obscene. And I appreciate Greg for running and spending the money, but not everybody can do that, and not everybody should do that. And so what you end up with is township committee members who are beholden to the Democratic committee in Maplewood to get that endorsement the next time they run. There's a pretty safe bet I will never get the Democratic committee endorsement in Maplewood. So I'm not going to spend any time chasing it. And so what you will get is I'll be chasing your vote and your voice. I'm not beholden to a party. I'm really beholden to you, the voter, and that's going to be a difference. And I hope you get a chance to see it starting in January.
Okay.
Well, now it's time for closing statements, and we'll start, let's see, since you opened with the opening statement, Frank, Mike, would you do the closing statement first?
First, I want to thank everyone for coming. This is about 3 times more people than I thought would show up. I'm sure we still have 1 million people live streaming right now and watching, so hi to them. But I think it's great. I look around the room. I appreciate the questions. I appreciate the people that took time. I appreciate we have differences, and I just thought it was a great discussion, and Frank, I want to thank you for that as well. I did want to take a moment and acknowledge someone that was part of my campaign. And so my designer was a design team of David and Jeanette Estoy. And they live on Prospect Street, about 3 houses up from me. Jeanette is someone that I met at the Jitney, I think 7 years ago. I like to think of myself as the first person to welcome her to Maplewood. It took me about 5 days of welcoming to get through to her because she still had the Brooklyn shell that was on. But she became a good friend. And Jeanette was a political junkie. She loves politics. I went to, I think it was Obama's first election night, a party at her house, and she just was grinning from ear to ear because she loves the pageantry of politics. And so she and her husband, David, were the perfect choice to work with me on my campaign. They've done my logo, a lot of other design work. I think the logo itself is probably good for about 500 votes. But unfortunately, Jeanette passed away in August, and I didn't have a chance to thank her for her work. She left behind a son, 3 sons actually, and they're friends with my kids. And her husband, David, is a great man. He'll be okay, but it's not easy. And being that she's part of the Hilton neighborhood, I thought it was appropriate to just mention her tonight because she's in my thoughts, and David's in my thoughts. And I just want to hope we can rally behind her. There's a GoFundMe campaign, which is out there. Her last name is Estoy, E-S-T-O-Y-E. But more important than the money is the support for David, Logan, and the other 2 boys. And so I just wanted to mention her because she was important and special to me and an important part of my campaign. So sorry for ending on a high note there, Frank. Can I just have maybe another minute and you can give Frank another minute?
Okay,
So
as long as he gets the other minute too.
That is so anyways, to not end on a down note, I hope you got a sense of my passion tonight. I love this. I can't wait to get my hand on this government. You're going to see me. I'm going to be, riding along in the DPW trucks on snow nights. I'm going to be doing the briefings at the police station. I'm going to be working with Bob Rowe in the health department. I'm going to be a fixture of this government. That's what you elected me to do, and I'm committed to doing it 100%. And I hope that my campaign strategy resonates with you because that's the kind of person you're going to get on the board, the committee, and it's going to be 100% commitment for me to it, and I can't wait to do it, and I hope you give me that opportunity. So thank you for coming out tonight.
So you have 3 minutes.
Oh, great. Thank you. First, Mike, I want to say sorry for your loss. I really enjoyed this forum tonight. At the end of the day, we're really volunteers. We have day jobs. Tomorrow morning I'll be on the 8:30 train heading into the city. But I hope you've enjoyed this as well. While I don't have all the answers, I hope you learn a little more about the type of person I am and my character and what I'm willing to do. What's been instilled in me since day one is hard work. I never got anything that wasn't earned. Being the oldest of 3 boys from the south side of Chicago, my parents raising me, it wasn't easy, but they instilled education into us. So that's why I attended Notre Dame, and my brothers went to other schools as well, because education was first. But it wasn't just about getting into the university or getting into school, it was about doing well and excelling there. And that was very important for us. I look forward to working with all of you. And my platform, and I talk about, you hear a lot, is Together We Will. Because I can't do this alone. I have to work with everyone in this room. I have to listen and learn. I'm still learning. And we'll learn together and work together. Because if we listen to each other, and if I can disseminate the information to you, then you'll learn more too, and you'll provide feedback. It's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street here. So we're a community. We collaborate together, we learn together, we grow together, we win together. So with that being said, I want to say one more thing. Again, I take this very seriously, and I'm willing to sacrifice the nights, the days, the weekends, the birthday parties, whatever it takes to make sure that you know if I take that seat on January 1st, you have someone you can come to day or night to get the job done and has your best interest. Thank you so much. Good night.
As I say almost every time we have a forum, that it is such, I feel such pride that we have such wonderful candidates and that people are willing to spend such a large part of their lives devoted to making Maplewood better and better for all groups of people. So let's give them another. I'm sure I don't have to remind you that the election day is November 8th, but I hope that you will remind some of the neighbors who may not be in the habit, may not be part of the 60% of Americans who vote, to get them out. I also wanted to mention that our next month's meeting, which is on the 20th, a Thursday night, will be the Board of Education Candidates Forum. And the schools, as we've said here, are so important in Maplewood. There are 5 candidates running for 3 seats. And so I hope that you will come next month and be able to vote as knowledgeable voters for those positions also. Please make yourself comfortable speaking to our candidates individually. And we have some refreshments in the back. Thank you very much for coming. If anyone would like to join the Hilton Neighborhood Association, there are memberships in the back. But everyone's always welcome to come to our meeting. Thank you.